Hello friends, welcome back to Learn with Lakshman. Today we'll talk about the clause elements. Clause elements are the parts of a sentence. Words, phrases or subordinate clauses form the clause elements in a sentence. Friends, please don't get terrified by the title the clause elements because it is just the division of a sentence. These are the parts of a sentence. We all know that, and we've been learning that subject, verb, object, complement and adverbial are the parts of a sentence. These parts of a sentence are called clause elements. These are the basic elements of a sentence. A sentence cannot be formed without them. Each of these elements may not occur in a sentence, but at least two of these elements are compulsorily used to form a sentence. Let us try to understand this with the help of an example. In the sentence, Mukta made me a madman. Mukta functions as the subject, made functions as the verb, me functions as the object, and a madman functions as the complement. Here in this sentence, Mukta is a noun, made is a verb, me is a pronoun, and a madman is a noun phrase functioning as the complement of this sentence. Look at the sentence, the birds fly. In this sentence, there are only two clause elements, namely the subject and the verb. The birds is a noun phrase and it is the subject, and fly is the verb in this sentence. Or look at the sentence, the birds are flying in the sky. In this sentence, there are three clause elements, subject, verb, and the adverbial. The birds is a noun phrase and is functioning as the subject. Are flying is a verb phrase and it functions as the verb in this sentence. And in the sky is a prepositional phrase functioning as the adverbial of this sentence. Let us try to understand all these clause elements separately. Let us begin with the subject. Subject is the element responsible for the action in the sentence. Subject is also called doer of the action. The action begins with the subject in the sentence. That means the subject occurs initially in the sentence followed by a verb. A noun or a pronoun can function as the subject in the sentence. The function of a noun in a sentence is equivalent to that of a noun phrase or a noun clause. Therefore, noun phrase and noun clause also can function as the subject in the sentence. Subject of a sentence agrees with the verb of the sentence. The agreement between the subject and the verb is called subject-verb concord in grammar. As a rule, the verb of a sentence needs to agree in person and number of the subject. If the subject is singular, the verb should be singular, and if the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. Look at these sentences. In the sentence, Ashoka was a Maurya emperor. Ashoka is a noun and it is the subject. In the second sentence, the boy in the room is my brother. The boy in the room is the subject and it is a noun phrase. In the third sentence, she is very kind lady. She is the subject and it is a pronoun. While in the fourth sentence, that he is a good singer is a fact. That he is a good singer is a subject and it is a noun clause. Also try to look at these sentences and understand how the subject and verb agree with each other. He plays cricket. I play cricket. You play cricket. They play cricket. We play cricket. We have seen that the noun, pronoun, noun phrase or noun clause generally function as the subject of the sentence. But sometimes adjectives also function as the subject of the sentence. But they function as nouns when they are used as the subject or the object in the sentence. For example, black is the most hated color. Beautiful is the most used word. Good needs no proof, and the most liked color is pink. The second clause element is the verb. The verb is an element of the sentence that shows the action. Therefore, verbs are also called action words or action indicators. Verb is an obligatory element of the clause. There cannot be a clause without a verb. When there is a clause without a verb, there is an implied verb. Such clauses are called verbless clauses. The verb also decides the tense of the sentence. Its function in a sentence is always filled by the verb phrase, which consists of a main verb and one or more auxiliary verbs. Sometimes the auxiliary verbs form the main verb of the sentence. Verbs are identified in terms of its tense, aspect, and mood. It helps to understand the exact function of the verb in the sentence. If you want to know more about the verbs, please go back to the video on verbs and see it. The link of the video is given in the description box. The verbs can be finite or non-finite. Their role depends upon their placement in the sentence. If they are the part of a subordinate clause, they do not affect the subject. If they are non-finite commencing a clause, they form a non-finite clause. It has some other functions like object or complement of the sentence. Verb can appear in the present form, present participle form, past participle form. Verb can also appear after auxiliary and modal auxiliary verbs. When the verb appears after the auxiliary verb, it does not decide the tense of the sentence. The tense of such a sentence is decided by the auxiliary or modal auxiliary verb. Have a look at these examples. The man in the room is my grandfather. The girl sitting in the first bench is my best friend. I work to please my parents. I work to please my boss. He has eaten all the chocolates. They can go to Mangalore. I'm writing a story. Try to compare the underlined parts in these sentences with what is written in the bracket after the sentence. Only the finite verb or the verb phrase can function as verb element in the sentence. Have a look at these examples. My work pleased my parents. I have completed my homework. He has been writing since 1990. You should write your own story. The man with the black glasses is my friend. Look at the underlined parts in these sentences. These are either verbs or the verb phrases. The third clause element that we are going to talk about is the object. Object is the word or the group of words that takes action from the subject. The action shifts from the subject to the object. In the sentence, Anuj eats chocolates, Anuj is the subject and the action is that of eating. So the action is performed by Anuj. Now the action of eating shifts from Anuj to chocolates because Anuj eats. What does Anuj eat? Anuj eats chocolates. Thus, chocolates becomes the object of this sentence because it receives the action from the subject Anuj. Consider the example, Sarah loves Samir. In the sentence, Sarah loves Samir, the doer is Sarah, the action is loves, and the object that receives the action from the subject is Samir. The object function is fulfilled by a noun phrase or a noun clause. The sentence with transitive verb takes direct object. Transitive verbs carry the action performed by the subject onto the object directly without the intervention of a preposition. In other words, noun phrase or noun clause plays the role of object. The verb in a sentence followed by the object is called transitive verb. The verbs that are not followed by the object are called intransitive verbs. There can be one or two objects in a sentence. The verbs taking single object are said to be monotransitive verbs, while those taking two objects are said to be ditransitive verbs. When two objects are present, the non-living object which is away from the verb is called direct object, and the living object that is closer to the verb is called indirect object. See these examples. In the first sentence, Dhondu killed a wolf. A wolf is an object. It is a noun phrase functioning as the object in this sentence. In the second sentence, Ratan has told me the stories. There are two objects. One is the direct object, another is the indirect object. Me is the indirect object and the stories is the direct object in this sentence. He told that the film is interesting. In this sentence, that the film is interesting is a noun clause and it is functioning as the object of this sentence. Remember, when there are two objects in the sentence, the object that immediately follows the verb is an indirect object and the object that comes later is the direct object. For example, in the sentence, Meera gave me a gift. Me is an indirect object and a gift is the direct object. In the sentence, Malan will be telling them stories. Them is the indirect object and the stories is direct object. And in the sentence, the girl has paid them the required amount. Them is the indirect object and the required amount is direct object. Similarly, in the sentence, they have done her a favor. Her is an indirect object and a favor is a direct object. If you carefully look at these sentences, you will find that all the pronouns after the verb are indirect objects and the later parts, that is a gift, a story, the required amount and a favor are the examples of direct object. The complement. Complement is additional information about subject or object. A complement completes the sense of a sentence whenever the speaker intends to do so. The complement is often the additional information about a noun or a pronoun. Therefore, a complement is adjectival in nature. The complement in a sentence has nothing to do with the verb. It is related either to the subject or to the object. There can be a noun phrase, an adjective phrase, or a noun clause as the complement in a sentence. Ramya is a graceful lady. In this sentence, a graceful lady is a noun phrase, but it is complementing Ramya, the subject. Therefore, it is called the subject complement. In the second sentence, Rama is very generous. Very generous is an adjective phrase and it speaks about the subject Rama. Therefore, it is again a complement. And in the third sentence, I thought her intelligent. Intelligent is speaking about the object her. Therefore, it is called object complement. Remember, noun phrase, adjective phrase, noun clause or a relative clause can be used as the complement in a sentence. For example, in the sentence, boy is an engineer is the complement because it speaks about the boy. In the sentence, she is very intelligent is a complement because it speaks about she. And in the sentence, the question is who will bail the cat? Who will bail the cat is the complement because it speaks about the question. In the sentence, he told that he is a poor boy. That he is a poor boy is a complement because it speaks about the he. And in the sentence, she is the lady whom I like. Whom I like is the complement because it speaks about the lady. In the last sentence, whom I like is an object complement. Subject complement is the information about the subject in the sentence, while object complement is the information about object in the sentence. Look at these examples. Mohan is a good boy. He is very happy today. She is my school teacher. The boy is very intelligent. All the underlined words or the group of words are subject complements in these sentences. Similarly, the underlined verbs or the groups of words in the sentences, I thought him very brave, I called him a great warrior, I thought her very intelligent, and I made her really beautiful are the examples of object complement. The last clause element or the part of the sentence is the adverbial. It is also called adjunct. Adjuncts are the adverbial parts in the sentences. They modify the verbs in the sentences. They also modify the whole of the sentence sometimes. The adverbials are the optional elements in a clause structure. They can be freely added to any clause. The adjunct function is filled by an adverb phrase, a prepositional phrase, a noun phrase, or an adverb clause. Take a look at these examples. Adarsh walked very quickly. Akanksha walked to school after lunch. Gitali walked 10 miles that night. Nitin will come if you will call him. All the italicized groups of words in these sentences are the examples of adverbials or of the adjuncts. Friends, in this video, we have seen that there are 5 main components of the sentence. We call them clause elements. The clause elements are subject, verb, object, complement, and adverbial. The object can be direct object or indirect object, and the complement can be subject complement and object complement. These clause elements are also referred to as SVOCA in English. I hope this was a useful video and you have liked it. If you have liked it, please like, share and subscribe for the channel if you have not done it yet. Thank you very much for watching this video.